Joining me now, Florida Congressman Cory Mills and Elbridge Colby, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense under Donald Trump. Congressman, what should Hegseth, assuming he gets confirmed, his first priority be to reform the Pentagon?
Well, look, we've got a recruitment deficit of 42,000. You have 8,600 plus who are unconstitutionally purged, in my honest opinion, when it comes to denying their religious and medical freedoms when it came to vaccinations. They should be returned full back pay, full benefits, and allowed to serve our military the way they were supposed to, not serve political agendas. Pete understands. You know, it's funny how everyone, all these pundits who want to attack him are the same people who've never actually served. Pete's led men in combat. He's got a degree from both Princeton and Harvard. He's a great orator, and he wants to go after DEI and CRT, which is one of the primary reasons that we have a 42,000 recruitment deficit. So the bottom line is that he is an outsider. That's exactly what we want. He's also a military officer, and in my opinion, he's qualified for the job.
Elbridge.
Yeah, well, I think the number one objective that he should pursue is restoring the American military's lethality. As you talked about, the primary mission of the American Armed Forces should be to deter war by being able to fight and win America's wars. And most significantly, that means focusing on China and stopping the frittering away of our military power in failed peripheral conflicts that we've talked about for a number of years in Ukraine and in places like Yemen.
Now, Jake Sullivan today was saying that one of the purposes of what they're doing with the transition is to make sure that Ukraine is in the strongest position on the battlefield. And look, this is a horrible situation in Ukraine.
Absolutely.
But is that really what the priority of our military should be, Ukraine's security?
Well, the Secretary of the Air Force just said the other day, not only that China's preparing for war by 2027, but that he thinks, the Secretary of the Air Force for Biden, that the Chinese military will say it's ready by 2027. So I thought that's what they're saying. And yet they're sending more of our weapons to Ukraine when we, as you rightly pointed out, it takes us years and years to restock them when we're already deep in a hole.
Well, Congressman Mills, the Wall Street Journal is also reporting that the Trump transition team is considering a draft EO, executive order, establishing a warrior board of retired senior military personnel with the power to review 3- and 4-star officers and recommend removals of any deemed unfit for leadership. Again, the military-industrial complex sees that and they say, here comes the purge.
Well, again, it's not a purge. We do this all the time. Every single officer, just like with non-commissioned officers, get an OER, which is your evaluation report. That evaluation report determines not only your promotions, but also what type of command or what type of staff position that you hold. Look, I want to get back to one thing that was talked about, which is our munition shortages. I mean, if we truly cared about ensuring that we have the ability to fight against a large-scale military force, if there was like a Taiwanese unification or a threat against Indo-PACOM, we have to acknowledge that things like CFIUS should be being utilized right now.
Explain what that is quickly.
So CFIUS essentially will allow the president to stop the sale of a company that is strategically important to us. For example,
how about U.S. Steel?
Exactly.
Yeah.
$14.4 billion, last steel industry to Nippon, Japan. These are the types of things that President Trump gets and that Pete Hegseth gets. Strengthen our military. Get away from DEI.
Our industrial base. Our industrial base.
And American jobs.
We knew that before World War II.
Workers over woke.
And if we didn't have the ability to ramp up our manufacturing base, we never would have won World War II. That is a fact of life. Everyone knows their history, should know that. We are woefully unprepared right now on that score, are we not?
Right, we absolutely are. And so it's really important that the platform that President Trump ran on puts reindustrialization, I believe, is the number 2 priority, and that's absolutely right. But that is going to take some time. And in the meantime, the threats are imminent. And we've got to husband the resources that we do have with the acute consciousness that I think Pete Hegseth really has, an attention to veterans, the possibility that people are going to be put into combat. And I mean, I don't think there's any kind of message that he would bring and that President Trump has run on than that we should take our service members' lives seriously and not fritter them away on these kind of crusades.
Now, Congressman, not to just keep going after Millie here, but that testimony, when he was talking about the conversations with the Chinese before the election in 2020, and saying it was all copacetic, and we were just reassuring them. They were worried that Trump would launch some nuclear attack, I guess, before the election, which wouldn't make any sense. But you can kind of sense this kind of holier-than-thou condescension. To me, that's how it came off. And he had years of incredible service in the military. I don't want to take that away from him. But that has to stop. I mean, doesn't it? I mean, it's just so condescending.
Look, at the end of the day, we've stopped prioritizing the most important thing, which is increased lethality, readiness, and being properly equipped. We've gone to that from being able to out-pronoun our enemies. Look, China and Russia are not worried about he, him, she, her, and they, them. They're worried about whether or not we can combat.
White rage, Congressman.
They're also worried about D21,
that's what they were talking
D27s,
about.
and that's what we have to be focused on: is military strength, peace through strength.
Absolutely.
I mean, Elbridge, you cannot forget about this. Like, this is what they were actually focused on. white rage, DEI, and the anti-racism handbook, which apparently everyone had to read.
Well, and it goes dovetails with Joe Scarborough's absurdly arrogant comments, and I don't know who he is to be passing judgment on this, as if our military is above reproach. How did we win under Ronald Reagan?
When's the last war we won
exactly.
outright? When is it? Congressman, bing, 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 yeah.
Well, or even Persian Gulf, but during the 1980s, that was when people were worried. The post-stripes military after Vietnam, we had a sense of humility, right? And that focus on lethality, focus on merit and core missions of the armed forces.
Or if we have a different idea, or if everyone rejects this, which they clearly don't, then we have to get out of the superpower business altogether. We're not a superpower unless we can actually defend our interests. Sure. Both of you, so much fun to see you in person. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.